All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the job application process as far as jobs go. So a lot of times one of the first things that they'll ask you is to submit a resume along with inputting the same things on your resume in the job history format of the application. Now, a lot of times people have never really made resumes or they need help making resumes. What I did was the first time I needed a resume, I actually just Googled a template on different resume styles depending on the position that you're applying for. And since I created one, then I've been able to tweak it and make it the way that I wanted to, depending on the job that I'm applying for. With me having so many jobs, I know a lot of times people think that that's a negative thing, and in reality it could be perceived as being negative, but a lot of employers nowadays are coming to terms with the fact that employees aren't going to be there for a long time in general. Billionaire and entrepreneur Mark Cuban said that in this day and age, people need to recognize that people aren't looking for lifetime jobs anymore. They're looking for a job that'll help them advance their own skill set so they can find a place in life that makes them happy. Now, with that being said, in one of my most recent interviews, the manager was hesitant on my application because of the resume that I submitted when I applied. It's not because I had submitted a 10-page resume of all the jobs I've had in the past years, because I only put the jobs that were relevant to the position, but even still, there was short term in each of those jobs. So the benefit to the resume that I submitted was that I put jobs that were relevant to the position I was applying for, but also they were success stories in themselves, right? So I applied for the position, which was at a bank job, and I have a few years banking experience, and I had submitted, that I started out as a teller, I was able to be a supervisor, and also I was able to be a manager in the short amount of time that I've been in banking. And that just goes to show my work ethics, the ability to retain knowledge, and also the ability to train people, which a lot of times you need patience to do that. So that's what it shows whenever you apply and put relevant information in those resumes. And for me, every job that I've had has been for my own personal growth. I personally believe that you can't really relate to something or know what something's about unless you've personally experienced it or been through that yourself, and every job that I've had has been most of the times a stepping stone to where I want to be in my career for future jobs, so I didn't always want to be just a cashier and stay as a cashier, or I didn't want to just start as a teller and stay as a teller. Every job and every company I've been to, I want to excel at the position that I've been in, but I also want to keep promoting and learning to further advance myself in the future. But it's also a collective thing, right? So in the position I'm in now as a manager, I can't be successful unless I have a bunch of employees underneath me that are successful. So collectively we have to be successful, and the way to do that is to teach, learn, and be open to criticism. The last one is extremely difficult for me because it's just a pride thing, but I'm working on that every day to be open to criticism, because everybody has something of value that they can give to somebody else. The other thing in this video that I wanted to touch on was salary expectation. So when you apply, you put your job history and your resumes out there, but another factor in the whole application process is the salary expectations. A lot of times you want the highest pay you can get, right, regardless of your experience level for that job. But you have to be realistic to what that employer is willing to pay and what your previous experience actually is worth, right? So you can't start off as a cashier making $20 an hour if you have 0 years experience in that position. There's a few different factors that go into this. One of the things that I personally have always done with the jobs that I've applied for is a lot of research. So I get out there on Indeed or Google. There's some more salary type sites out there that give you these different numbers, but I always type in, for instance, cashier starting pay. A lot of times they'll give you a range, right? So it could be $8 to $15 an hour. But if you click on those charts, typically they have a breakdown of why that person's making so much. Not too many people are going to start off making the highest without any experience. But that can also go into play as far as your other experiences that you have. So it's extremely important when you're doing your resume or putting in your job history that you put any job that you might feel like is beneficial for the job that you're applying for. So it might not necessarily need to be in the same industry, but it could have different experiences of knowledge that you've learned from that job that could help you in the future, right? For instance, when I worked at the warehouse, I technically was a trainer of different employees that started there. So I would include that in different jobs if I was applying for a supervisor or manager position, so that that employer would know that I had the ability and knowledge to train people and the patience in order to, you know, tell them what was expected. So yeah, on the salary, just put something that you're comfortable and willing to accept for the position that you're applying for, and keep in mind that you have to start somewhere in order to end up somewhere else, right? So if you start at a lower pay now, then just put in the time and effort in order to increase your salary by performance and merits that you've done on the job, and that'll get you eventually to where you want to be. Now, there's different ways that you can get to that salary that you'd like. Sometimes that is through school or other jobs that you've held, but you just got to keep working at it and always put in your best efforts, because your employer will see that, you know. So you just got to keep with it and stick it out as necessary. That way that you keep advancing yourself for the future. So the only other thing that I do have to put in my best resume and best salary expectation out there is, in my faith, I say a little prayer and say, Lord, if this job is for me, then it's already mine. Then the only thing that everybody would have to do is wait for that employer to review your resume and salary expectations and see if they'd call you for an interview. Now, the interview process is a whole different beast in itself. And that's what my next video would be about, is what I've done in preparation for those interviews. So thank y'all for watching, and stay tuned, and I'll see y'all in the next one.